All right, let's get straight to it now. Matt Canavan is joining us along with James McGrath and, James Patterson, guys. So you've got to write them down right before the year. Sorry, mate, the piece of paper. And Joel Fitzgibbon, of course, joining us now as well, but we'll call him Albo for the rest of the conversation. So I'll start with you, Senator Patterson, which is that we see that Matt Kean, he was on this network a bit earlier today, and he was actually saying reasonable things about nuclear power. Here's part of what he said today.
Do you think we'll ever have nuclear power stations in Australia?
Yeah, I think so. There's some exciting things happening on the nuclear front. So a company in the United States is developing technology around small modular nuclear reactors. So that's effectively a nuclear power plant in something the size of a shipping container. Now, right now, the prototype of that is being developed, but we're not expecting that to be commercially available until the mid-2030s.
All right, so James, how do you feel about this? That the man who is quite enjoying the nickname of Matt Green is at least talking about the place where technology needs to go.
Paul, I'm pleased to have an opportunity to agree with Matt Kean on something. Not as pleased as I know Matt Canavan will be in a moment, but I'm very pleased. I'm in favour of removing the prohibition in federal legislation against nuclear power in Australia. I think we should allow the market to decide whether nuclear power is viable. Probably another precondition, though, of it being viable is bipartisan political support, because when you're investing in a nuclear power station that's going to take you 30 years to generate an economic return, you know that there's a guarantee that in that time there'll be a federal government of a Labor persuasion federally, and if they don't support nuclear power, you know that the rug from beneath your investment is going to be pulled from underneath you. So it will require both the Liberal Party and Labor Party to support nuclear power so that investors can have confidence that they're not going to lose their shirt on their investment at some point during that time.
So, Joel Fitzgibbon, let's imagine you got a chance to vote for the removal of the ban. You can do it tomorrow, would you?
Yes, I would, Paul. And I think, obviously, Matt and Barnaby Joyce and John Barilaro, it seems, have been a bit hard on Matt Kean. He came down a coal mine with me, I think it was last November, so he's on the march, isn't he, Matt Kean? He must have started to count and wondered where his political future was going. But good on him for speaking the truth about the possibilities on nuclear generation. And yeah, the prohibition, something done by John Howard as a deal to get his GST through the Senate 22 years ago, makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
All right, so, Matt, you get to take a partial victory lap here, that at least even the hardest of hardcore Greens on the allegedly conservative side of politics in New South Wales are at least talking about it. But the big asterisk there was, hey, this technology is not around until at least, say, 15 years away.
Well, first of all, I'll welcome that. Let's get on with it then. If we've got Joel from Labor Party, James here from the Libs and me all on board, let's do it. Let's get on with it and get it done. Yes, Matt Kean did say, well, we shouldn't be betting on something that might not be commercially viable for another 15 years. Now, I completely agree with that. But that does raise the question, why would we be betting on technologies like hydrogen and batteries, which are not commercially available right now? And Matt Kean and his energy policy of New South Wales is unashamedly pursuing the closure of coal-fired power stations with a big gamble, putting a big gamble on the fact that batteries and hydrogen are going to come along and save the day. Well, we don't know about that. We're not sure about that. They may not. And I don't think we should be putting our manufacturing industry, thousands of Australians' jobs, on the roulette table and let's put it all on black and see how we go. That's why I do think we should be investing in the technologies that work. We should be building power stations that we know work, like coal and gas-fired power stations. And yes, putting some resources, some funding into things that may work in the future, but we shouldn't be putting the whole house on those.